the Golston High School Band.
Goldsboro,
I'm sorry, the Goldsboro High School Band.
140 members in the Goldsboro Band. Of course, Goldsboro is the home of another famous politician, or soon to be very famous, Senate President Pro Tem Henson Barnes, who will be leading the Democrats in the General Assembly when they convene Wednesday.
You want to know who else was from Wayne County?
Go ahead.
How about Governor Charles B. Aycock, who was governor from 1901 to 1905?
I knew it was a historical fact.
There'll be a pop quiz at the end of this parade.
This is a large band.
140 members. Mr. Clifton Scott is the band director.
Reviewing stand got a chance to see them up close as they stopped for a while. Governor Martin still remains standing and clapping and seems to be really enjoying himself.
Hey, it's his day. It's his day. All right, we have float here. This is a political float from the Catawba County Republican Party. They have a lot to celebrate today.
They sure do. Not only the first time a Republican's ever been re-elected as governor, but the first Republican lieutenant governor in this century, Jim Gardner. The theme of this float is Today's Education for Tomorrow's Jobs.
All right, Kathleen's down on the street with a guest. Kathleen?
Hi, I'm with Brian Chapman, and he's with the Young Republicans Club, and you are selling buttons of Governor Martin and also of our president-to-be.
Right. President Bush and Vice President Dan Quayle, Inauguration Day buttons, and a picture of Jim Martin. We have Gardner Martin buttons similar to the Bush Quayle that didn't arrive for today. So we're handing out order blanks for those, and hopefully people are going to be mailing them back to our YR club.
So people are ordering buttons of him because you didn't have them today?
Exactly, right.
How are sales going so far?
Well, it's been good. Little competition today. Last time the Wire Club did this, and we were the only ones doing it, and we obviously probably had more than market then, but it's going good.
How much is a button?
The buttons are 2 for $5.
That's a pretty good price, isn't it?
Yeah, 2 for $5, $3 each.
Okay, thank you very much. Back to you, Audrey and Chris.
All right, that float was from the Department of Agriculture, and the theme Goodness Grows in North Carolina, and on the float were the watermelon and strawberry queens.
Can't have too many queens. Next up is the Garner Senior High School Marching Band, the Mighty Trojan, of course, Mighty Trojan Marching Band. Of course, Garner was the state 4A football championship last year, and we met or saw Anthony Barber earlier on the Athletes in Action float, and Anthony Barber, who goes to North Carolina State from Garner High School.
Yay, yay. 77 members. The band director is Mr. Terry Barnhart.
Speaking of awards, this band has won 26 awards this fall and winter, so we're looking at a winner here.
They were at the Hall of Fame Bowl in Tampa, Florida this past weekend, but they made it back in time for the inauguration. All right.
I guess that's what these youngsters get for marching in the cold and everything else. They get to travel all over the United States.
Everybody's friend, Smokey the Bear, the North Carolina Forest Service. Please help prevent forest fires.
Smokey being driven, of course, by one of the North Carolina Rangers, Forest Ranger. There's Smokey. And Governor Martin shows the bear that he put his cigar out already. So Governor Martin's helping prevent fires.
Oh, all right. Here we have Chief W.R. Richardson and Princess Kamika Wilson. They are from the Halawasa Pony Indian tribe in Hollister, North Carolina. And he's smoking his peace pipe, I believe.
Maybe Governor Martin could use that. Liston Ramsey.
Followed by some marchers in tribal dress.
It's amazing how many
Indians.
tribes North Carolina has represented in the state. There's almost too many to list. The Halawasaponi here, we saw earlier some people from Robeson County, the Lumbee Indians, of course the Cherokees in the mountains. Quite a diverse group of Native Americans live in our state.
The first Americans, well represented. All right, this is the West Caldwell High School band. It's Naval Junior ROTC from Lenoir, North Carolina. Commander William J. Eisenhower is their leader.
Lenoir, of course, the hometown of longtime Congressman Jim Broyhill.
I believe we'll be seeing a little later on. E.E. Smith.
Well, they are a lively group.
The Magnificent Marching Machine from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
These guys have been all over the place, too. Disney World, the Preakness Parade, the Freedom Bowl. So they've done quite a lot of traveling. There's 104 band members and 2 queens.
And, of course, Fayetteville is in Cumberland County. And that was the home of Warren Winslow, governor from 1854 to 1855.
We got to keep Audrey out of the library. She's been reading too many history books.
Had a lot of help, a lot of help.
People that aren't from Raleigh may not realize that traffic is going the wrong way. This street is usually a one-way street going the other way. And, of course, Raleigh Police Department, everyone has blocked off these streets and everything is very safe. But just thought you might want to know that if you ever come to Raleigh, don't go the way the parade is going down Wilmington Street or you'll get in a lot of trouble.
High-stepping, magnificent marching machine. And here we have another float. This is sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Future Farmers of America.
The people you see on the float are the FFA officers in the state of North Carolina. This is still an agricultural state, and these guys are the future of our agriculture.
There's a young woman on.
I'm sorry.
All
Hey.
right. This is from Petty Enterprises, number 43. Show car.
This is a show car. You won't see this one on the speedway, but it certainly shows you what a Richard Petty race car looks like. It's not Richard Petty in there, but this is the Petty car.
It's probably somewhere getting ready for a race. Loud, isn't it?
It's interesting that one of the people that works for Richard Petty is Jimmy Martin, and that's no relation to the governor either. But the governor seems interested in this particular car.
I think he. All right, coming up the street, we have the Southwestern Randolph High School Band, the mighty Blue and Gold Marching Cougar Band from Asheboro, North Carolina. Of course, they're giving us a little patriotic tune, Your Grand Old Flag.
In case you're wondering about all of this, how much it cost and who did it, the approximate cost of this year's inaugural ceremonies and festivities, including parade and everything, is $120,000. $50,000 of that was appropriated by last year's General Assembly. The expenses are up a little. 1985's inaugural ceremonies and festivities totaled $97,000, so we're spending $23,000 more this year to bring you all this pageantry. People don't look that cold. Here's an interesting exhibit. It's the North Central chapter of the Antique Automobile Clubs of America. Quite a long list of cars. Audrey, did you drive this car around to the store when you were 16?
No. Oh, but isn't it beautiful? Do you know what's that, a Studebaker?
That's a 1950 Studebaker, I believe.
And is this the Hawk? A Packard Hawk, 1958.
I guess you used to drive to the sock op in these kind of cars. From Roxborough.
Look at the fins on that. Oh, all right. Now, let's see. What is this one? An old car, I believe. But, oh, it's immaculate. Look at that. A lot of times you see these cars in parades and they have to be pulled. This one is running under its own power.
That's actually, I believe, a 1922 Studebaker.
Followed by
That's a great-looking car here.
49 Studebaker convertible.
And another convertible, which is a 1955 Pontiac.
And another Packard, 1953. Same year I was born.
And as we said, this chapter of the Antique Automobile Club of America is located in Roxborough, so that's where all these cars are going back to after the day's festivities are over.
Can you imagine the gas these babies drink?
Well, they're probably not driven often enough. It's probably the same tank they had last year.
The governor has his eye on one.
He's got a big car with a 1 on the license plate. And of course, the state limousine. I guess which will be busy tonight, taking him to the prom. The prom.
The prom.
Thinking of these old cars.
It is a prom of
the
sorts.
inaugural ball.
The Roanoke Rapids High School Band. From Roanoke Rapids. David Hawks is the band director. Shenandoah.
Audrey, you got to stop dancing up here when these bands come by.
Oh, it's beautiful. So serious.
Want to make a good impression.
All right, now coming up.
Looks like the Department of Natural Resources and Community Development Division of Marine Fisheries exhibit. Of course, they just got a new boss at the Department of Natural Resources and Community Development. Former Deputy Secretary of Transportation Bill Kobe will go over there and take the place of former Secretary Tommy Rhodes, who will take Bill Kobe's job. So a little switching jobs in Governor Martin's cabinet. And I think Kathleen has another guest along the parade route. Kathleen?
Hi, I'm with John Elliott of Charlotte, and he served during the Holshouser administration as Deputy Ombudsman. And this is, you said, your third inauguration parade?
Right.
How are you enjoying it so far? You guys seem like you're having a great time.
Much warmer than, believe it or not, much warmer than the last one I came to.
You started telling me how cold it was.
I think it was about 4 degrees, and we froze to death. We had to stand up and clap a lot for that time to stay alive.
Stay alive last time. This seems like a really happy day for Republicans.
It is. It is. we've got a new lieutenant governor, and that's the first time we've done that in this century.
So that's definitely exciting.
It's a step up.
All right, well, enjoy the rest of the parade. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Back to you, Audrey and Chris.
All right, and this is a float from Strike at the Wind, an outdoor drama in Pembroke. It's about Henry Berry Lowry and the Lumbee Indians of Robeson County.
And I actually had a chance to see part of this this outdoor drama last summer. It's a wonderful thing. It runs mostly in the warm months. So if you're ever on the way South Carolina or just going down take a trip to Pembroke, anyway, just to see, it's a great and exciting show.
One of the many outdoor dramas that are performed here in North Carolina. Now we have another band from Hillsborough. This is the Orange High School Marching Panther Band.
This band has a very impressive record. They have had a superior rating for 15 years straight. They won 14 trophies this year.
Time for another history fact.
Uh-oh.
They're from Orange County, and another governor was from there. That was William Holden, who served from 1868 to 1871.
William Holden?
William,
the actor?
not that one, not that one. No, 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 no. Now those are some sharp outfits.
And next up is a historical float sponsored by the town of Hillsborough. So it follows the Hillsborough, well, the high school in Hillsborough. Now this is a historic float.
It depicts the history of Hillsborough, centering on important events, of course. The 1788 Constitutional Convention, which was held there. And we have
Here's
another
a happy float.
Another group of Republicans, this one from Raleigh.
This is sponsored by the North Carolina State Republican Party, Victory 88, and that certainly was the case for a lot of Republican candidates in North Carolina. And their slogan, or their motto today, today's children, tomorrow's future. They certainly should get a warm response from Governor Martin and Lieutenant Governor Jim Gardner.
And again, we have some Native Americans.
For a second there, we had a bipartisan, well, I guess we do anyway, the Council of State, but State Senator Wanda Hunt joined Governor Martin at the head of the reviewing stand.
All right, now we have the Southeast Guilford High School Band. They, of course, are from Greensboro, North Carolina. I think they're ready to take off. Let's listen.
Okay, Coming up at the parade is going to be Janelle Moore, Dan K. Moore's wife, former governor of North Carolina. She told us a story about her husband's inauguration back in 1965 when her grandson stole the spotlight.
Blanton, of course, was sitting in the reviewing stand with us, and he was about 5, I guess, at that time. Dan had removed his top hat and apparently just put it down to the side. And there was a lull in the parade, and nothing really happening at that time. And Blanton just reached over and got the hat and put it on his head. Well, the photographers literally came out of the cracks. That people from California sent me that picture that had been published in their paper. It was just everywhere.
And now following Mrs. Moore, the J.H. Rose High School Band from Greenville, North Carolina. God bless America. Following the band, we have another float sponsored by 5th District Republicans from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. North Carolina, a united state.
You don't think it's any coincidence that most of the political floats today have all been Republican floats? Okay, I think John Basin has someone on the street now. John?
Chris, I'm here with North Carolina Banking Commissioner William Graham, who also had the distinguished duty of heading up the George Bush campaign here in North Carolina. What do you think of the inaugural parade so far today?
I think it's a great day for North Carolina, and I think it's a great day for the Republican Party. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
And I would imagine you'll be heading north to Washington for another inaugural in a few days.
I certainly appreciate you asking that question because I'm looking for another great day in Washington, a little less than 2 weeks away.
Very good. Will you be doing any special ceremonies or anything in the Washington inaugural, or a spectator?
I'm going to be a spectator, and I'm going to take in a few things like a swearing in of the finest president we've ever had and a few other little things like that. Looking forward to it, but I don't know whether it can match today or not. This is my third. I was here in '84 when Martin was inaugurated, and I was here in 1972. I didn't get invited to the other ones.
Okay, and how does this one, as far as viewing conditions, how does this one compare to what you've seen before?
As far as viewing conditions, I think this is probably the best one, and it certainly is the best. The weather was the best. I have seen some cold days down here, as I expect you have too.
Very good. Appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Chris, Audrey?
Okay, thanks. Thanks, John. We are back now with the Apex Senior High Marching Band from Apex, North Carolina. 80 members in the band. This band has won awards consistently over the years throughout the Southeast and in North Carolina. Didn't have far to travel today.
I would never have the nerve to throw up a baton in this crowd.
Well, the nerve isn't throwing it up, the nerve's catching it. The nerve may be wearing those short outfits when it's chilly. They seem to be oblivious to the cold.
Kathleen, what's happening down on the street?
Hi, I'm with Jean and Terry Taylor of Greensboro, and their daughter Tammy just marched by a few minutes ago in the Southeast High School Band. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, how did she do?
Great. It was fantastic.
You look like you were taking pictures and having a good time.
We were. It's a fantastic parade.
She's a freshman, so is this her first inauguration parade, and was she excited about it?
Yes, she is. She was.
Okay, thank you very much. Back to you.
Okay.
All right, now here we have one of our Republican congressmen, Cass Ballinger from the 10th District.
Cass Ballinger is a face well known in Raleigh, along of many years.
And there he is with his wife.
Another victorious Republican.
It's down to Central America.
Here's a Democratic congressman now, David Price.
No longer a freshman.
That's right. He just won re-election to his second term.
All right, now we have another band. I wonder how many of them participate in the hollering contest.
Lively group, I guess they should be, from around Spivey's Corner.
All right, here is Congressman Martin Lancaster, Goldsboro, a happy man since they didn't close Seymour Johnson Air Force Base.
Unopposed this election from the 3rd Congressional District, and just like Representative Ballinger, former state lawmaker. He was in the House of Representatives for many, many years.
And following Congressman Lancaster, we have J. Alex McMillan, a Republican from the 9th District.
He's someone that Governor Martin knows well. Governor Martin was a congressman from the 9th District for 12 years before he won election as governor in 1984.
He's from Iredell County.
And is a Republican.
And the governor's happy to see him.
Another politician. This is Raleigh's own mayor, Avery Upchurch, and Mrs. Upchurch. And the governor waving to the mayor. After all, it's on the mayor's streets that we're having this party.
All right, the Forest Hills Jacket Regiment Marching Band from Marshville, North Carolina. Another award-winning band.
They were the grand champions at the Four-Bush Band Contest on October 29th of this past year. And there's a young fella enjoying the music. I always think of Forest Hills, New York, where they play the U.S. Tennis Open. I think of Forest Hills, but we have one right here in North Carolina.
Now they seem to be enjoying this. They're actually smiling. All right.
Some of these bands have been waiting quite a while, I guess. Been in line waiting for the parade to start, so I'm sure they're glad to have their opportunity to strut their stuff here.
Move about.
Still a good crowd gathered on the streets, on the banks of Wilmington Street. I'm sure further on the parade route, you see all the color, hear the good music. And as we've told you many times today, this is an historic inaugural parade for many reasons. One of them that Lieutenant Governor Jim Gardner, the first lieutenant governor elected in this century, and John Basin had a chance to talk to the new lieutenant governor just a few days before this celebration.
What made you decide to return to politics after 20 years?
John, I guess it was a combination of several things. First of all, Governor Martin, he convinced me that we not only had an opportunity to re-elect the governor, but for the first time to elect a Republican lieutenant governor. And he's a pretty persuasive fellow, and I think he persuaded me that this was the time and the place, and that I was a fellow who could do it, and here I am.
It looks like you'll have fewer legislative duties than your predecessors. Will you be concentrating more on the executive branch elements of your job?
The Constitution of North Carolina says that the Lieutenant Governor will be the chief presiding officer of the Senate, but it also says he'll perform any duties given him by the Governor of North Carolina. That opens up a lot of different areas. The Governor and I have talked about broadening the responsibilities of the Lieutenant Governor. So I'm very excited. I think we're going to take the office of Lieutenant Governor and make it a great deal more than it's been in the past.
Have you been studying parliamentary procedure? Are you nervous about presiding here in the Senate?
Well, I'm naturally nervous. I think anytime you start something that's entirely new to you, you're always a little bit apprehensive and nervous.
What do you think will be going through your mind as you're being sworn in and later on during the parade?
Well, I'm sure that it's going to be a very special day. My family will be here. I've been in politics since '64, running as a Republican. That's not a very easy thing to do in North Carolina. You lose a lot of times. Occasionally you win. And I guess that makes the winning much sweeter. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a very special day to me and to my family. And I hope to a lot of citizens who worked very hard and voted for me.
And as we come back to the parade, you see Lieutenant Governor Gardner on the reviewing stand. A lot of the members of the reviewing stand, particularly the Council of State members now, are leaving the stand and will be getting into the car so they can ride along the parade route. You see a lot of more empty chairs, of course, than you did a little while ago. I think Commissioner of Labor John Brooks is about to get in his car with his family. Agriculture Secretary Jim Graham now leaving the podium. So a lot of the Council of State people are getting in their cars for their well-deserved recognition as they ride through the parade route. And in the meantime, there's a band back there trying to get through.
The mighty red, white, and blue marching warriors from Elon College.
That car you see in the picture now is the car for Agriculture Commissioner Jim Graham, who's been on the Council of State longer, I believe, than any other Council of State member. And we'd like to remind you that this telecast of the 1989 inaugural parade is coming to you live from Raleigh, from North Carolina Public Television in cooperation with the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters.
All right.
We are back now with the parade of Council of State members. Attorney General Lacey Thornburg's car, actually, the parade of cars to pick up the Council of State members. So these politicians will be getting in their cars, these people elected by the state, well, elected statewide in North Carolina.
Car for the Superintendent of Public Instruction,
we
for
saw John
Treasurer.
talk to her earlier, former Representative Bobby Etheridge, who's got to be the tallest Council of State member, a great member of the legislative basketball team. I think Mr. Etheridge stands 6'6".
And there's State Treasurer Harlan Boyles.
This is not his first inaugural either. He served several terms. Now, these folks are really who the parade is for, and the folks on the rest of the parade route will have a chance to see their elected officials, their families.
Right now, this is a first. We have the first time a Republican has been inaugurated for a second time. Let's also look back on some other inaugural firsts. The state's first governor, Richard Caswell, had the first inaugural procession of sorts. When Governor Caswell arrived in New Bern in 1777, 30 gentlemen on horseback met him about 6 miles out of town and accompanied him into town while bells rang proclaiming his arrival. Samuel Ashe was inaugurated at the first State House in Raleigh in 1795, but that building burned down in 1831, so subsequent inaugurations were moved to Governor's Palace, which was at the foot of Fayetteville Street in Raleigh. The first inaugural address given in the present State House was delivered by John Motley Moorhead, who served from 1841 to 1845. Subsequent inaugurations were held there until after the Civil War. The first outdoor inauguration occurred in 1862 for the very popular Zebulon Vance. The event was probably moved outside the state capitol building to accommodate the crowd of spectators. Governor Charles Aycock began another inaugural tradition in 1901. After reviewing the troops from the balcony of Yarborough House, he held an official reception at the mansion, receiving 3,000 well-wishers. The first inaugural procession to include an automobile section was in 1909 for Governor William Walton Kitchen, but the governor chose to ride on a horse-drawn carriage. Carr Scott had the first unrestricted inauguration since the end of World War II. The ceremony cost a whopping $3,000 and had the first inaugural turnout of the National Guard in 12 years. William Bradley Umstead was the first governor to die in office in the 20th century. His entire inaugural festivities were all held on one exhausting day, and 2 days after taking office, Umstead suffered a heart attack and died the next year. Umstead's 1953 inauguration was the last one to crowd all events into a single day. In 1965, Dan K. Moore's inauguration was the first ever televised. He took his oath of office in Memorial Auditorium and danced at his pre-inaugural ball at Reynolds Coliseum at NC State University. All right, and now we have the band from Smithville-Selma High School. Marching band, 100 members strong. Mr. Keith James is the band director. And following the Smithville-Selma High School Marching Band, we have cars for other dignitaries.
Here's the families of some of the people on the reviewing stand, Mr. Chris Gardner and Miss Stephanie Crofton. That, of course, this car for Lieutenant Governor Gardner's son. So these cars, again, will be pulling up to the reviewing stand, and the dignitaries will be getting in them and continuing along the parade route for the rest of the parade spectators to see. There's Mr. Gardner's son and his escort, Miss Ann Crofton. Stephanie Crofton, I'm sorry. Okay, there are a lot of ways to look at this inaugural parade. We've been looking at it here right on Wilmington Street. We have a commentator, Jack Ollis, who has a different view, or maybe what you consider a different view of inaugural festivities. Here's Jack with his thoughts.
I don't understand why people go to inaugurations. If it were Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or maybe even Abraham Lincoln who was being inaugurated, you might want to be there just to say you were. But Jim Martin has already been governor for 4 years, and I don't really see how he's going to look much different today than he did yesterday or will tomorrow. But people do go, no matter the distance, the weather, or the inadequate arrangements made by the inaugural committee. I suppose some who go hope to get political jobs, but most people already have jobs, and it's a lot easier to watch an inauguration on television. It's a lot easier to watch everything on television, I suppose, but some events are worth the trouble and suffering of being there. Circuses, for example. An inauguration isn't anything but a bunch of politicians swearing to obey the law for the next 4 years. That may be an interesting morality play in itself, but it's hardly worth standing around for several hours to see. It must be that everybody truly does love a parade, no matter whether the things passing by are lions and tigers in cages or elephants and donkeys riding in automobiles.
All right, now this
Really?
is the Northern Nash Marching Band.
Another Rocky Mount band. Audrey, how did you get all these Rocky Mount folks?
Actually, they're not in Rocky Mount. They're outside of Rocky Mount, but it's another Lieutenant Governor's Honor Band. They're the arch rivals of the Griffons, the Rocky Mount Senior Band.
And as these bands go by, the cars continue to pull up for the dignitaries. I know one happy, well, a couple of happy ladies are now getting in a car. Mrs. Arthur M. Martin and Mrs. Benson McCauley, those the parents of the first family, Governor Martin's mother, Mrs. Arthur M. Martin, and Mrs. Martin's mother, who is Mrs. Benson and McCauley. They certainly must be proud of their family today. Being helped in the car by former Representative Teresa Esposito, who you saw earlier talking to John Basin. Must be quite a feeling going to visit your son and his wife in the governor's mansion on Blunt Street. They understand that they celebrated Christmas there this year, as they have each year of Governor Martin's administration. Mrs. Martin tells a story that they decided long ago that the family with the biggest house would have Christmas, and I think they guaranteed themselves that in 1984.
I believe that's a safe bet. Representative Esposito has really kept things on target today.
Precision perfect, I think she described it. More family members now of Governor Martin getting in the car.
And we have coming up the street the final band of the parade. This is the Statesville Greyhound Grenadier Band from Statesville, North Carolina, Iredell County. Another strong Republican area.
Governor Martin's home county from Iredell County, so they are also an honor band for the governor. And there is the governor. The Statesville High School Band.
The Grenadiers. One more historic fact.
You're from Statesville. That's historic.
Well, my husband.
Your husband.
Statesville, yes.
Your family. Is that the historic fact?
No. Iredell County honors James Iredell, who was governor from 1827 to 1828. Although Iredell was born in Chowan County, rather.
They have some interesting colors.
The kilts. They're tartan. It's a young lady who's the drum major.
Governor Martin's home county band. I'm sure he's very proud of these folks. The Martins' permanent residence is in, I believe, Iredell County on Lake Norman, near Charlotte.
Yes, that's right. No repeat of last year with the band coming through and no
float, exhibit, what have you. And now it's time for the governor to take his triumphant ride through the streets of Raleigh. He's buttoning up the coat there for the wind. Mrs. Martin seems to be having a great time. This is the couple we're having this for. First, the family, other family members are getting in the cars. The grandchild. And there's the granddad giving Catherine, his granddaughter, a kiss.
We call her the first grandbaby.
The first grandbaby.
Yes,
yeah.
the first grandbaby of North Carolina.
There's Granddad.
And now it's the governor's turn.
Governor Martin certainly has a lot on his mind today, the big celebration, the upcoming year with the General Assembly. But, you know, Governor Martin has a lot of other things to think about. We had a chance to talk to him and ask him a couple of questions about things other than politics and being a governor. Here's that interview. Think of Governor Jim Martin, and this is probably what you think of. Speeches and podiums and supporters, cameras and notepads, and reporters begging for a question or two. Jim Martin is always the governor, and even when he's not surrounded or making a speech or trying to talk the legislature into seeing things his way, he's got homework to do to get ready to do all those things.
But also try to find some time to set that aside and have some quality time with the family. I think everybody in any level of responsibility knows that that's very important, to organize your time so that you can spend a good time with the family.
Martin spends that time in that modest little home on Blunt Street where governors live. He says he really didn't know what to expect his lifestyle as governor would be, so he wasn't really surprised by anything this past 4 years, except maybe the treatment he's gotten from the people of North Carolina.
Whenever we're visiting in their hometowns, they seem to take a kind of pride in that. The warm response from them, I think, is a tribute to the office. And so we've come to realize that that's one of the great blessings of this position, is the wonderful relationship that naturally flows from the people.
And he certainly, Governor Martin spoke of the treatment he's gotten from the people of North Carolina. He certainly got a rousing show of support today at the parade and for the family. 4 more years.
4 more years. Well, it has been an interesting, exciting parade.
Let's go back to the people on the street for a final word about how things have been going and trying to find our folks out there.
Well, let's see. I think John Basin is ready. John, how's it going down there?
Well, things have pretty much cleared up here, as you can see. Straight shot down the bleachers, a little bit of leftover lunch, reserved seating. Most everybody's headed out. It's a cold day. You don't want to linger, but it's been a wonderful parade and inaugural day. Kathleen, how are things over on your side of the street?
Oh, it's been a lot of fun, and everyone in the crowd seemed to be enjoying themselves today. Of course, a lot of them are leaving now. The parade has ended, but we've really enjoyed it. We've had a lot of fun today. Back to you, Audrey and Chris.
Yeah, we want to stress that this is not the end of the day. There's an inaugural ball to come up, a big reception tomorrow, but I think overall you'd have to say this parade was a big success. Everyone seemed to have a lot of fun.
Most definitely. We enjoyed it. We had one of the best seats in the house, and we'd like to remind you that it was a cooperative effort between the UNC Center for Public Television and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters. I'm Audrey Cates Bailey.
And I'm Chris Fitzsimon. Thank you very much for joining us for the coverage of this inaugural parade. Goodbye.